Hello and welcome to today's Almost Daily Devotion. We are in the prophet Isaiah chapter 6. We start with the first verse and it goes like this. In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on a high and exalted throne, the edges of his robe filling the temple. Winged creatures were stationed around him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they veiled their faces, with 2 their feet, and with 2 they flew about. They shouted to each other, saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of heavenly forces. All the earth is filled with God's glory." The doorframe shook at the sound of their shouting, and the house was filled with smoke. I said, "Mourn for me, I'm ruined. I'm a man with unclean lips, and I live among a people with unclean lips. Yet I've seen the King, the Lord of heavenly forces." Then one of the winged creatures flew to me, holding a glowing coal that he had taken from the altar with tongs. He touched my mouth and said, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt has departed and your sin is removed." Then I heard the Lord's voice saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" I said, "I'm here. Send me." So this is a Bible passage that has launched 1,000 songs, from Handel to Bach to Hillsong to Chris Tomlin to Fanny Bruce. If a songwriter needs an inspiration, they turn to this piece, this verse. And of course they did. It's an amazing verse. It's an awe-inspiring verse. Literally, it's literally awesome. If I saw winged creatures flying around the robe of God, I think the last thing that I would feel would be odd. I mean, these are giant winged, 6-winged creatures shouting, "Holy, holy, holy," and waving flying tongs, right? The thing I think I would be feeling wouldn't be awe, but maybe a little bit. I think I'd be terrified. I think amazed, dumbstruck, speechless. I'm probably a little bit unworthy, a little guilty. Why should I be the one to see such awe and amazement? Who am I that God should appear, should literally just lift me up into heaven? Like little old me, the girl from, the backwaters of West Virginia? Surely there's somebody else who's more worthy, who's more qualified, more dignified, more something. Isaiah feels vulnerable, afraid, unable. Isaiah knows he's a person who's born into sin, who bears the weight of ignorance of generations who have gone before him. He's not responsible for their sins, their actions, their decisions, their ignorance. But Isaiah does carry the weight of his ancestors, the responsibilities, the legacy of those stained, sin-filled people. Isaiah sees God, and Isaiah's first reaction is to feel inadequate. Just like Moses, just like Aaron, and like Miriam and Sarah, like Jeremiah. An encounter with God leaves people feeling small, unmoored, uncertain. And so we lash out, or we give up, or we worry, or we become too focused on the particulars. We hear the voice inside of our head which says, I can't do what God is asking me to do. It's easier to give up. It's easier to give in to the fear. It's easier, it feels more right, more justified to say, no, I can't. I'm too small. I'm powerless. But the truth is we can. Not because of us, not because of anything that we do. We feel unworthy, and because we are, when we compare ourselves to God. When we feel like we can't live up to the expectations others have for us, we panic. We become afraid. And no, you can't live up to God. You can't live up to whatever impossible standards you hold for yourself. And no, you are not worthy of the calling God has placed on you. You'll fall short. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have imposter syndrome. And that's okay. God is not expecting you to fly around with wings like eagles and touch burning coals to people's mouths. God has people for that job, and God doesn't need you to do it. God just expects you to be you. And maybe that means you don't live up to the expectations you've placed on yourself or that other people have placed on you, or to some impossible bar that you will never meet. No, you can't be the impossible. But like Isaiah, you can say yes to depending upon God, upon trusting God's guidance, God's strength for your journey. How can being aware of your not enoughness lead you to a more peaceful, more complete life? How can it lead you to trust God a little bit more?